I came into this game as a fan of two things: deck builders and transformers. So I expected it to settle in quickly, I expected to enjoy it. But after 7 plays, I'm kind of mixed. Not bad, not great. It felt conflicted. There was a disconnect between the Autobot on the card and the experience I was having. And that disconnect, I realized, came down to a single critical decision that quietly undermines almost everything the game does well. But before we get there, let me walk you through what actually stood out. One of the things about the game that immediately captured my attention was its grid layout. You don't have a normal market like in a traditional deck builder. Instead, it's a 3x4 grid of face-down cards you physically move around and explore. Transforming between robot and vehicle mode isn't just thematic, it really matters. Vehicle mode gives you extra movement points so you can dart around the grid faster, and movement itself becomes a resource you manage. Exploration becomes part of the puzzle, and on paper, that's a really clever system. And when you flip a card and a Decepticon ambushes you, it feels right. The penalties aren't too harsh. Maybe you lose some energon, take a damage card, or worst case, destroy a card off the top of your deck. But the grid feels alive. It feels like something could jump out at you at any moment. And after an ambush or two, I was like, you know what? That's pretty cool. The best moments for me happen though during boss confrontations. When you engage a boss, you draw a confrontation card, very similar to a boost card in Marvel Champions. That hidden information, that tiny spike of danger, it keeps you guessing, and it could swing the entire battle. Those moments are genuinely fun, even when I lose, because it never feels guaranteed. And the schemes can shake things up. Some schemes linger until you meet a requirement to clear them. Others, like the one that treats every Decepticon as a boss, or the one that gives every enemy +2 power, can't be thwarted in solo at all. And oddly enough, I like that. It changes the difficulty and gives each game a bit of unpredictability. You're only using 38 cards out of a 75 card deck before you add the cooperative schemes and the bosses, so you never really know what mix you're going to get. So yes, there's a solid foundation of ideas here. By my third play, once I had a better sense of how the game flowed, something started becoming clearer. Even though each Autobot had a unique ability or two, the actual strategy didn't change much, and that's where I started running into problems. Ratchet can spend 2 energon to heal 2 damage and transforms for free. It's useful, but not something that changes how you approach the game. Ironhide gains a power the first time he transforms each turn, and after he blocks an attack, he draws a card, which can be clutch. Blocking and drawing into an extra point of power sometimes can make the difference. Bumblebee gets +1 power for each ally he controls. If you manage to uncover multiple allies, he becomes one of the strongest Autobots in the game. RC probably has the coolest kit. She draws a 6 card whenever she plays a maneuver card. She can spend an energon for extra power, plus she can spend 2 more to draw 2 more cards and then destroy 1. That means she can regularly hit a 7 card hand, which is quite strong as long as she has the energon required. Wheeljack gives each of his tech cards +1 power, which is great if you can find and buy enough of them. There are 16 tech cards in the full deck, so it's possible, you just never know what the grid will reveal. And Optimus gives every Autobot card +1 power and can spend energon for a 6 card. Solid, thematic, and helpful. But again, dependent on finding the right cards. There are only 12 Autobots in the deck. So yes, the abilities exist, some are clearly stronger than others, but even with those differences, I kept playing each Autobot in almost the exact same way, and that's because of one thing. The power economy dominates everything. Your hand size is 5 cards. The level 3 boss requires 10 power to defeat before drawing his confrontation card, which can range from adding 0 to 5 extra power or destroying one of your cards in the battle, thus reducing your total power. And then there's a scheme I mentioned earlier that bumps the requirement to 12 power to defeat them. So what happens? I found myself buying any card with 2 or more power and leaving almost everything else behind. Low power cards clog the deck, they make it harder to hit that 10 power breakpoint, so the game quietly nudges you every turn, every round, toward the exact same decision. Buy the biggest number you can reach. And once the game trains you to do that, the Autobots stop feeling different. Sure, Wheeljack wants tech cards, but if it's a tech card that has 2+ power, I'm buying it whether I'm Wheeljack or not. Same with Autobot cards for Optimus. The power values became the more important thing, and there were enough 2-power cards that also provided movement to not really give as much thought to it. That clever grid, the one that initially excited me, also limits your market options early on. On your first couple turns, you often only have the choice of 1 or 2 cards. not including the always available rollout that I never purchase because it only has one power. Many turns you'll be looking to reveal new cards because once you decide you're not going to purchase a card, that card will remain there, clogging the grid. You'll also discover sites that for the most part remain there and clog up another space in the grid. And then you'll have those schemes that aren't annoying enough to remove or the ones you can't. And once you start revealing schemes and get a couple out, they can start to become mentally taxing. You'll end up with multiple start of turn and ongoing effects, and while none are complicated, the stacking of remembering this and remembering that slows down the gameplay, and I found myself wanting to clear them just so I didn't have to track them anymore. But the bigger issue is that as I played more games, my deck always looked the same. Power, power, power. Whatever gave me the highest number. Not because I wanted to play like that, but because the boss's design forced me into it. After a few plays, the decision space started to collapse. I wasn't adapting to different Autobots or strategies. I was just building the same power-dense deck over and over. And that drained the excitement out of the experience. Another thing I felt a lack of was it didn't feel as transformery as it should. I know that's not a word. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying. I bought the Transformers deck building game and I want more Transformers in the game. There's too many maneuvers, tech cards, allies, sites, and starter cards watering down what I want most. Transformers. Which is why I'm thinking maybe expansions are the lifeline here. If I pick up an expansion and add more Transformers and pull out cards I don't like to change the makeup of the deck, would that help? I don't know. Maybe. But at this point, do I really want to purchase an expansion for a game that I'm not really sure will stay in my collection? Of course not. One more quick note. The rulebook wasn't as smooth as it could have been. This isn't a complicated game, but I found it more difficult to learn than it should have been. So after 7 solo plays, 1 with each Autobot, plus a 2-handed run, I've decided that I don't want to play the game solo again, for now. Sometimes the game needs to sit on my shelf for a while, let time pass, and then I'll pull it back off, and then I can find something that I initially couldn't find that I get some enjoyment out of. I'm not saying that's going to be the case. It doesn't happen for a lot of the games, but you never know. The real test, though, will be the competitive mode. And if the game shines competitively and I enjoy it, then I might go ahead and pick up the expansion. And who knows? Those extra Transformers may be the key for me to enjoy it solo. Because what I'm thinking is maybe I take the extra Transformers, the Decepticons and Autobots, and I add them to the core box, and I take out cards like Galactic Positioning System, I think it's called, Energy Swords, Charge, Jump, the ones that give me a little more disconnect from the game. Just by adding the extra Transformers, maybe that does the trick. I'll have to see, but I'm not going to go and invest in an expansion if the competitive game doesn't work for me. Anyway, I'd love to hear your comments down below. If you own the Transformers game, let me know what you think. I'd really like to hear your point of view on it. Do you enjoy the game? Did an expansion help? I'd really like to know that. Or did you just find it lackluster and a little bit of disconnect, just like I'm saying, you had the same feeling. Anyway, I really appreciate you watching the video to the end here. Thank you so much. I'll catch you next video.